was given, and within 24 hours they found that there are 3 distinct zones of hyperalgesia, and those are because of the sensitization. So sensitization can take place even within hours. So there are roles of the drugs which is taking on the sensitization.
It's a good question, but if you go by the experience of various people who have been working with chronic pain patients, and as he said, intervention definitely, but if it is a failed back surgery syndrome or say chronic severe degenerative osteoarthritis, which is where interventions are not working at all. Interventions don't work in all conditions. I think you can't let the patient live with pain. NSAIDs definitely are not the answers. Opioids do have a role to play, tremendous role to play. And we have been using very high doses of tramadol, even fentanyl patches we are using now for chronic non-malignant pain, like a failed back syndrome. We are using Buvolor patches in a very, very high dose, up to 40 to 60 milligrams, micrograms patches we are using. So there is a tremendous role, but yes, you should not imitate what the Americans do, give oxycodone to any patient who does not have pain relief for more than 2 weeks of NSAID. You have to be little titrating your doses, and you have to see that when everything else has failed, that is the condition where opioids can be the mainstay of their pain relief in the years to come.
Precisely what I want to ask is role of buprenorphine patches in osteoarthritic patients, the walking routine osteoarthritis.
There is a tremendous role in a very
Do you routinely prescribe it, sir?
Where patient has been told that he needs surgery, he says no. Where your interventions have failed, he says no. Then how to give relief? Tramadol oral you have so buprenorphine patches do have it.
Just please, we'll be continuing the discussion in the other ways. I'll be just going to the next question, that when we should think of the interventions. I'll be coming with this question with Dr. Sunita Labonge first, and then we'll be taking part in the discussions in continuation. When we have talking, discussion about the pharmacological approach, when should we jump, or what are the other indications when should we be thinking of the, like Dr. Luxi has told already, that instead of thinking of the opioids, C should be rather considering intervention first. So like in your opinion, what are the conditions when we will be thinking of the interventions when we are treating this kind of thing?
Thank you, sir. Coming to the interventions, when a patient comes at very last stage, like everything has failed, many a times such patients come to us with lot of expectations. That is the time when they have taken all the medicines, one should think, no, now this is the time I should go for intervention. Second, if they have already come to us in grade 3 or grade 4 stage, then why are we waiting? Why are we supplementing the medicines? And instead of that, along with intervention, if we give a low dose of pharmacological drug, I think so that combination will be better.
I just want to add up this thing that if the patient comes in stage 4 of lumbar canal stenosis with facet arthropathy with very stable stenosis, he is not the candidate for intervention. Maybe you will not get any results, and it will further demoralize and demotivate the patient. So maybe in these conditions, I will just adopt the role of opioids rather than giving an intervention, demotivating the patient, demoralizing the patient.
Suppose the patient has already taken the drugs when he comes. He has taken the opioids.
Every patient cannot be treated by interventions. If you have to see.
Okay, definitely the case-to-case change of the plan will be there. But as a general rule, definitely when the pharmacotherapy has failed, intervention plays major role. That should be one. Madhu, you want to add something in this discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when people say that pharmacotherapy has failed, we must make sure that each and every drug has been tried to its fullest maximum dose. Because many a times you see that patients taking gabapentins for less than
till the patient will be suffering. We are trying one drug, another drug, and the patient will be suffering.
So it should be no sir, but it should be monotherapy. But you should take it to its full potential. Giving suboptimal dosage doesn't help, because many a times I see prescriptions of say 100 milligram gabapentin 3 times a day. I mean, it makes no sense. It's like eating a peppermint. So you should give it at least till 1800 or even 3600. What is the maximum dose which is prescribed?
So I'll be asking this question to the house, as well as I'll be taking this opinion of the Dr. Jain as well. The question is, when should we think of the intervention? Should we jump? Should we allow our patient to suffer for the long? What are the exceptions where we can jump into the intervention? Dr. Jain first, then it will be coming.
I think in the scenario not what we are now, the transdermal patches have come, and the low dose opioid therapy, where the combination, you see, when a neurologist or neurophysician are referring us the cases, because they are using polypharmacy in a very high doses, and when they feel or they think that the patient is not responding, they refer it to the pain physician generally, and then the role of either one go for the intervention or one use the opioid therapy. And in many cases we have seen the buprenorphine patch, especially for 7 days when you apply, are very, very effective in that cases.
So once
Then
we are,
secondly,
how long will be continuing the opioid? That is another very important issue.
maybe for 2 to 3 weeks, not more than that.
I can tell my experience that once we are reducing the pain by some ways, maybe from opioids or some other means, then it is easy to continue with some other drugs with some lower maintenance doses. Means I normally give this example that not allow the monkey to climb up, then it is very difficult to pull it down. So let the pain be pulled down by any sorts, by some intervention or by some opioids, stronger opioids, and then we can maintain the pain by some other. Dr. Saxena, Dr. Jadan was telling something.
Good morning, House sir. I just want to say, before we go into that, when to start the intervention, we have to differentiate two groups of the patient. Like commonly said, that before 6 weeks, any patient for suffering from the chronic pain will not be categorized as chronic patient. But what happened, unfortunately, I give you very small examples. A young girl, 21-year-old, she had some extensive exercises and developed the back pain. And she was getting the intramuscular narcotic for 2-3 days, NSAIDs were started, and she suffered for almost 2-3 weeks in the ward, and then was referred to us. And when we gave the muscle blocks, like sauce block, she had the sauce spasm, and she was okay next day and was discharged. Another 78-year-old male who fell in the bathroom and then again had 3 weeks treatment before he got the SI joint injection. So we have to find out that whenever patient is referred, or we have to make very clear distinction when to start your intervention. Sometimes these 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks are really not essential. If you find that patient is going to be helped by your intervention, I think we have to go for intervention.
Okay, we are running short of the time. We just, because we will be continuing the discussion into the very important aspect, the research in the pain. Will be continuing with the same panelist. We'll be adding Dr. Geeta Joshi, and please come on to the dais. And Dr. Shantanu Tripathi, I don't know whether he is in the hall or not. So, Dr. Joshi, please join us. Let me summarize what we have discussed.
We need to leave for this.
Dr. Joshi, please on the stage.
Thank you, sir.
The pain research.
Thank you.
Before going to the pain research, let us summarize what we have discussed. That when we are assessing the patient's pain, we should be thinking of the other aspect which has been long been ignored. We are focusing on the tissue damage. We are focusing on the investigations which is in our hand. We are ignoring the history part, and we are ignoring the psychological aspect. We are ignoring the sensitization part. These two important areas which has been, there are a lot of other areas, but at least these two areas, there are a lot of evidences to include in the assessment. When you have assessed the patient the pain, then you have to plan the management. And there again, the very ignored areas is the non-pharmacological modalities, lifestyle changes, diet, spiritual aspect, a lot of other aspect is there which should be included with the non-pharmacological modalities. Coming to the next step of the pharmacological modalities, we should not be relying on the NSAIDs and the other drugs which still long we are using. Thinking of the lot of side effects, we cannot continue the NSAIDs for the longer time. NSAIDs cannot address the sensitization part. So our pharmacological approach should also be different. And at the end, we should be thinking of the interventions and the surgical interventions as well. Sometimes we'll be jumping, and sometimes if the pharmacological modalities is not enough, we should be jumping into we should be thinking of the either interventional pain or surgical interventions. So thank you very much for this very interactive sessions. We'll be now switching over to the next session. So we'll be going to the next session, very ignored areas, research in the pain. Yesterday was discussing, no specialty can stand by his own feet unless there are good researches. So welcome you all for this very important aspect. As we were discussing from the first day, that this is one of the very ignored areas. We have a lot of very good clinicians, a lot of beautiful, excellent clinicians with a lot of patients load, varieties of patients, but we are not documenting it. Fortunately, we have very important experts here who have a lot of publications in national and international journals. We'll be discussing some part, why aspects of the publications and the research, why it is less, what we should do, how we should move forward, how we'll be motivating our juniors in this important area. Before we start, I'll be having a small video, and then I'll be sound.
How were you motivated and started this research? How you were inspired about the research to do the same?
I am working in Cancer Institute since last 32 years and treating cancer pain since my days of residency. And I am also active in Indian Society for Study of Pain since its inception in 1986 or so. And I realized that there is no data available in prevalence of pain, chronic pain, cancer pain, or even acute pain in Indian population.
Can you please let us know about your contributions towards chronic pain research in India?
First research I did when Dr. Russell Portnoy from Memorial Sloan Kettering sent one multi-center trial where prevalence of chronic pain, cancer pain, was assessed, and we have included about 50 patients in this study, which was published later on in Pain Journal. And another study we have done where we have audited our data, whether we are prescribing our severe pain patient adequate analgesic as per the WHO letter. And we found that we were not optimally performing. So gradual analysis and gradual auditing of our performance was also required, and we found that more education to our residents are required. This is another study which is published now in Pain Journal, where WHO essential list for neuropathic pain has been included, because earlier WHO essential list did not include any of the neuropathic pain drugs.
Across India, people are getting trained in the management of pain management, but still, though we are having lot of patients, the number of publications are very less. So what can we do in this regard? How we can motivate them to increase the number of publications? How we can inspire them to do something in the field of pain management, in the field of publication, so that we can have our own studies, our own research data for the same?
Still, people do say that we have lots of workload, lots of patients, so we don't have time to do this and all such things. I don't believe in this.